Parashat Vayigash. The saga of Yosef and his brothers reaches the climax. At this very moment, Yehudah is preparing himself to approach the king of Egypt. The situation is grave. They're desperate. They're not sure how they're going to get out of this one. And Yehudah decides that it's time for him to show the colors and the stripes of a true leader. When you read the Torah story, it seems to be that he is placating. He's very soft-spoken. He approaches Yosef, and he almost is begging for his life. But Chazal want to make sure that we understand the depth of this meeting point. That we understand how this conversation truly transpired. The Midrash builds a colorful event in which Yehudah roars and causes the entire land of Egypt to shudder. The sons of Yaakov, start showing their strength, as if to threaten Yosef. And Yosef brings in his two children, Ephraim and Manasseh, and they, in return, show strength that has only been seen in the house of Yaakov, where Ephraim rips out a pillar from the palace, handing it to Manasseh, who turns it into dust. These colorful imageries are there to try to show us a very different perspective on this conversation. It is explained by the Midrash centered on a simple word, the first word of the parasha, the name of the parasha, Vayigash Elav Yehudah. The word Vayigash is introduced to us now for the second time. Remember where the last time we saw this particular unique word? The last time we saw this word was at the moment in which Yaakov finally meets up with his brother Esav. And there also it says, Vayigash Elav Yaakov. The Medrash there, in the meeting between Yaakov and Esav, described to us how Yaakov went out of his way to prepare himself in three distinct ways. He prepared himself by trying to appease Esav, sending him gifts with emissaries to try to calm him down. Then he turns to try to set himself up for a battle. He prepares for war. He splits the camps and sets himself up for the inevitable battle with his brother. Only then does he introduce the third component, in which he turns to God in prayer. And Chazal tell us that we are to learn that a Jew must first do all that he can before he turns for God. It is our responsibility to turn to God and pray in every stage of our lives, because we all know that ultimately our salvation will come from God, not from our actions. But a Jew may not turn to God before he has made an effort, before he did everything that he can in his power to do what was right. Comes the Medrash in our parsha and changes things ever so slightly in a brilliant small nuance. Almost a parallel Midrash describes how Yehudah prepared in three separate ways. He prepared for war. He then tried to appease Yosef. And then he turned to God in prayer. The nuance here is critical and perhaps quite profound for our generation. Yehudah understood that indeed one must make an effort before turning to God. But he fundamentally disagreed with his father's approach, in which you start your relationship with the Gentiles of the world with trying to appease them. Yehudah understood that if he is going to be able to get his message across, he first and foremost must show his adversary that he is able and ready to fight. It is not that we are warmongers. It is not that we are eager to fight, but we must show our strength and ability to do so. It is then that Yehudah is prepared to step up and try to appease the adversary, to try to avoid and avert the battle if it is not necessary. Then the Jew is ready to turn to God and ask for God's salvation and guidance. This is the role of a Jew in every single generation. And if you want to take a deeper look at this particular medrash, it would be fascinating for you to study the particular psukim that the medrash brings to prove each step of the way. Each and every one of these psukim hint to the great challenge and balance that will exist throughout Jewish history between the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Yehudah. Careful examination may lead you to fascinating insights, as the Midrash highlights the challenge that Kalev and his children present to Yehoshua, the challenge that Yoav presents to David HaMelech, and the challenge that Eliyahu presents to the Jewish people in Har HaKarmel. Dig in deep and you will find some interesting insights. For now, let us remember the role of a Jew, to stand up tall, to show our adversaries that we are strong and able to do what is necessary. But yet we are welcoming the ability to reach a compromise, to try to appease when is necessary, because we know that we always will have the strength of God behind us. Shabbat Shalom.